Right guys, we got to deal with the snivelling shitweasel known as Matt Hancock. This prize-winning prat is back moaning about people hurting these poor fifis online, the complete and utter melt. At the end of the day, everyone gets it, and being a politician who makes laws that ruins people's lives, a few choice words from people should actually be expected. Of course, it's not expected with these poor sensitive little snowflakes we've got here. You know, the same ones who get called right-wing but complain their vagina is sore after a few hurty words on Twitter. The so-called Conservative Party is filled with butthurt crybabies just like Labour is, as you know. And in fact, this story here proves it because Matt Hancock has teamed up with a Labour shitweasel Rupa Huq to try and push through a little bit more censorship as I've covered before. So despite him being booted out of government following public disgrace, he is back playing the victim. Obviously, he wasn't the victim when he was belt-feeding a married mother of three's little pork sword behind his wife's back while paying her out of the public purse. It's funny now how he's ruined so many lives during his time as health minister that he's there bitching that people don't like him. Let's be honest though, most Tory voters thought he was a snivelling shitweasel even before March 2020, so public opinion of him being in the gutter is actually expected. Now, of course, it goes without saying that you shouldn't be threatening this idiot, any other idiot, or indeed any MP. But Dylan Pole in this Breitbart article we've got here points out the apparent threat Matt Hancock is moaning about would actually be capital punishment, so would need to be done in accordance with the law, obviously, if there is one on that. And in fact, I have to sit here and say that it's a pretty weak threat and more of an opinion if you ask me. As I've said before, people tell me to kill myself pretty often since I've started this channel. I don't consider it a threat, I literally just laugh at it. In fact, the same is actually true with anyone who shit talks me at all, because at the end of the day, who actually cares? I mean, it's nice to know that I live rent-free in people's head, but I ain't gonna lose sleep over it, let me tell you. Hancock, though, it seems clearly does. Now, like I said, all of this goes back to videos I've made on the Tory cancel culture push, something we are seeing more and more. It's actually the sort of censorship that Stalin would be proud of. And this sort of censorship that we're seeing here is going to be brought in with the help of the Harms Bill, or Online Harms as it's actually called. There it's going to start, and Hancock here is pushing that sensitive narrative a little bit more with this. Now I'm going to sit here and skip most of the article itself where it points out much of what I've just said, and start here where Hancock's real censorship motive behind these bitch fits is exposed. Hancock says he started a campaign with Rupa Huq, the Labour MP, to curb abuse aimed at people in public life. The hope is to establish a permanent body to work to improve public debate. Which obviously, as Dylan Pole's going to point out here, is just a little bit of a way to get censorship in. Improve public debate, what a slippery euphemism that is, and the journalist who wrote it ought to be ashamed of himself, because essentially he's endorsing the dishonesty of these grubby little would-be fascists. Which obviously I 100% agree with, not only on the fact that this is a slippery euphemism, it's also the journalist's a bit of a scumbag, though, let's be honest, these are journalists, it's kind of what we expect. He goes on, public debate is at its best when it's free and frank, well no shit Sherlock. What Hancock and his fellow political weasel Rupa Huq are doing is trying to set up some official body whose job will be to decide what forms of discourse are acceptable. This is definitely not free speech, which once again, no shit Sherlock, and it's definitely not an improvement in public debate. No, it's shutting it down 100%. He says here, once you spot these shyster politicians' dirty tricks, it becomes so painfully obvious it's just embarrassing. Here, Rupa Huq doing the only thing she knows, playing the victim card for cry-bullying advantage. Social media gives people license to take the gloves off and they say stuff that they wouldn't say in real life. She added, half of you think sticks and stones, but you just don't know what may happen next. There may be people who want to do a sort of copycat attack. Women get it worse, women of colour, Muslim women, and I'm in the Venn diagram when I'm in all three. Which obviously, once again, my vagina and my ethnicity has to come in it with Labour, and let's be honest, it will start coming in it with the Tories too. In fact, I bet Matt Hancock's already been up to it, let's be honest. It goes on, inevitably Huq attempts to shoehorn in the killing of Sir David Ames MP, of course she bloody would. But then you stop and think about something like the killing of Sir David Ames and you think that is not right, it is not on, which obviously it's not on, but let's be honest, this has got fuck all to do with that. In fact, you could actually blame it on politicians letting these people into the country in the first place, but you ain't gonna say that, are you? Now, the rest of it here literally just goes on about more of what we've seen, and obviously Marc Francois' push for censorship following the MP's death, as I said. Which obviously, naturally further down, is pointed out that Hancock's pushing the same thing. They're all in lockstep together, as he said here. Hancock goes, I think we should tackle anonymous accounts, which obviously, given the bullshit he comes out with often, is not surprising. Dellenpole points out that free speech is probably more censored than it has been at any time since the Second World War. This I would have to 100% agree with. As many know, the public square is online, and how many people get banned literally every day. How many people have their accounts shut down completely at this point. This goes to show that there is no free speech anywhere, certainly not online, and there won't be if the government has their way. Snivelling shitweasels like Matt Hancock are certainly trying to push it through, let me tell you. The crap that he's coming out with in articles recently proves that 100% if you ask me, and actually should prove it to you if you've got more than half a brain cell.